Should I just read my book and ignore you?
Yeah, you just read your book. Ah, now the battery is running out.
It's going well. Get my headphones and then I can't listen to them.
Yeah, I've started filming! Okay, that's not gonna work. Hello everyone, I know we promised that next week's video would be an adventure, but yeah, it was too short. We will go on an adventure, but it will probably be by the end of the week, so we thought we're gonna make another video of DIY boat projects which we sort of have been postponing, and we need to sort of start taking on to get Dory in the best possible condition before we leave here. Pernille has been, and I blame myself too, we do a lot of boat work in the background, and we only afterwards sort of realized that that could have been interesting to film, but yeah, we that's probably why we're not big YouTubers, because we do a lot of things and we don't really think about the filming part of it. So we'll try to get better. So when Pernille went to Denmark, we had thought in advance, and she had ordered already some spare parts for our manual freshwater pump that was broken. She brought those back. I already fixed that. It took quite a while to assemble it again. Yesterday we took down the genoa so it doesn't get burned by the sun, and once we're ready to sail we will hoist it again and sort of lubricate the furler and everything. And now we have noticed for quite some time that our freshwater pump is doing some quite weird noises, which, to be fair, it has been doing for the last 3 years. And we have already, but it's one of the only spare parts we had on board since we started. We had a spare water pump. We have never used it, so that's kind of funny. So now I have decided, or we have decided, we could just change it and make use of a new, maybe perhaps even quieter water pump, and we could keep the old one as a spare. I also see now it has a 3-year warranty, which probably runs out in a month, so it's gonna be useful. Yeah, but I'll try to take you along how I'm gonna tackle it. I think every 5-minute boat job is just one screw away from being a nightmare. So I will try to tackle that one smart. So I will unpack it, read the instructions, compare, how I can mount it. Is it easily to mount it where the other one was? Are the connections sort of in the same way, or do I need to take the whole engine room apart and mount it somewhere else? Because in that case I might not do it. So I will only do it if it's fairly simple. Otherwise I will wait till the other one breaks and then tackle it and face the nightmare then. Yeah. Another reason I didn't want to change it necessarily is because I'm afraid that if that one produces more pressure than the old one, it might result in our old piping to blow apart. But since we have another month here, maybe it would be then a good idea to also change some of the freshwater piping on our boat, which is quite a job, but perhaps something to do in a boat's life. So let's go have a look how the other one looks. Unpack this one, or we unpack this one first and then we have a look how the other one is and if it's easily to do. See, it's all originally packed. I wonder if it's a Yapsko and they're quite good in having spare parts for their pumps. I think our foot pump was also a Yapsko, probably 30 years old. You can still get parts. So it's fairly simple. Somewhere water in, water out. They have this quick connectors which you can just pop in and secure. Yeah, the 2 wires. So it should be fairly simple, but the nightmare might start that if the bases here where you mount are different than the old pump, then you need to drill new holes. It could also be that those are orientated differently, and then you cannot squeeze the pipes in there. But have a look. We have a quick manual, but who needs that? No, let's go. So here is Doryman's engine room, hidden. Whoop. The light is not really, oh, it doesn't even work. Whoop. So that's the old engine, our old lady, and down there in the corner is the water pump. But to be honest, it looks very similar. The pipe orientation is also to the side of the pump. So I can see 4 screws, a fuse. So yeah, it should be fairly simple. Perhaps we turn the pump off, let the water drain, and then we start, right? Should be 5-minute job. Perhaps we discover some problems on the engine leaking. I mean, rust is certainly a problem. We need to do an oil change as well. Perhaps change the filters, maybe. Yeah, so the good thing is we can also open this door here and have quite the access here. And it's also nice, you can take the door out, unhinge it. So yeah, as I mentioned, we need to also change the oil, which this is one of the things we keep a very close eye on, the oil and the water. But it also has been quite a while since we have changed like our impeller and our fuel filters. So I'm really not keen on touching anything on the engine. I mean, we changed the oil filter, but the fuel filters, last time we did it, it was quite the struggle to bleed the system, and in the end one of the filters was actually not sealing really well. And then the impeller, when we changed it, it resulted in the housing, some of the screws actually broke. We had to find screws, and then the whole thing was leaking and we had to take it apart. So should we bother? What do you do? Should we just not do it, and if it breaks, I mean, if the fuel filters clog, then we have some spares. If the impeller breaks, you have the problem that your engine might overheat and you might have the impeller feathers in the system. But what do you normally do? It has been now, I think, 2 years since we have done that maintenance. Yeah, let us know in the comments. So here I am, I turned on the fuse, I double checked. I think it's the pump also has the same PSI rating and everything. Funny thing is, it still has a price tag in German, D-Mark, or anyway, the currency before the euro, and they switched to euro in 2002. So that means the pump is for sure over 20 years and it still works fine. Yeah, so I should have maybe laid out some paper to protect the carpet, but mess anyway. Should maybe change, but I never do that, so I won't do that either now. I will just squeeze myself in there. Haha! So this little thing is my best friend. It's rechargeable. It's a little pencil. It's rechargeable. It has a red light as well, and you cannot do without having at least one on your boat. We have 3, some cheaper ones, one good one. Then we have these little toolbox, really useful, especially for like if you use the number, I think it's number 7. It's always good for pipe clamps really easily. And then a screwdriver, some wrenches. That will get you quite far. Yeah, and practicing yoga to squeeze into tight spaces, which is, I never done that, but so I will be in pain. So I'm going in. Ah, bloody hell. It's number 8 for the hose clamps, FYI.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, I thought it was
No, it is. Ah, it is number 7. By the way, showing a little bit of your bum when you do plumbing work is not an option. It's mandatory. Like, if you don't do that, the work will fail for sure. Right, pump is loose now. I just need to disconnect the electricity, which seems a bit rusted in, but it's very easy, I think. And let me show you the pump. So here's the pump. It doesn't really show, but it was mounted just here. I unscrewed it, and here's my previous heating mess, and somewhere down there you can see where it is connected. So it's always smart if you do such works to take just a small pictures, because especially on older boats the colors and wires do not always make total sense, as you might be able to tell here. So now we have black together with black, red and black, and then positive red going with white. I mean, if you're really familiar, you probably figure it out, or you take a polymeter and measure it. But if you just want to be quick and simple, you just take a picture and do it the same way. Yeah, we have to see. I kind of like the fact that it has a separate fuse on there. I don't know if maybe the new pump has it built in, or maybe we just keep that. We'll decide on that. Always remember to charge your flashlight, which now is running out of battery. Ta-da! Pump is off. Here it feels a bit heavier compared to the newer one. It's probably the quality from 20 years ago. Yeah, let's see them side by side. Oh, it's dripping. And then we go further. We had a little problem not too long ago where it stopped working, and it was just one of these contacts here was a bit loose, so it would stop. But we fixed that by hitting it with a hammer, and since then it works. Let's see it. Yeah, so got it out side by side. It is, I would nearly say the old one is twice as heavy. Probably they used way more, probably nice cast aluminum here instead of plastic. So we better keep that around. But I think it's pretty much the same specs. Yeah, so it should be okay.
famous last words.
Famous last words. 3.4. 10 amps. Okay, it's probably more efficient. This one only draws 5.2 amps. Wiring, blah blah blah, marine. Thermally and thermally protected. Shut off pressure 25 psi. Oh, and this says 20 psi. Maybe it will blow all our hoses apart. The only thing is we now have to, if we follow the instructions, we will need to take this fuse here, which is quite nice. Take this and put it onto that red wire, and then we just need to stick the new wires where the old ones were. I honestly don't know what the previous installer has done here. A lot of tape, a lot of shrinking pipe, a lot of water. So I think we will be able to make a neater installation. I wonder. Yeah. This one has some nice base, like nice feet with rubber, while on the newer one you already have the whole brackets of rubber. Okay, let's see what we're gonna do. Penelope's watching.
Sorry, I'll go back to my book. I make him nervous.
Yeah, she does make me nervous. So this seems, I've never seen that. It seems fairly simple. Cut the wires and then you clamp them in with the fuse housing somehow, and then you have a fuse. I wonder if I can take this apart without destroying it and reusing the fuse. Otherwise I might have to get a fuse from somewhere. By using the wrench I was able to pop this fuse thing open. Reuse, reduce, recycle, right? So it looks like that. Perhaps these little fingers will break off and then our pump will never work again. Our new pipe, but I'll give it a try and then I will directly know the problem. So where's the new pump? So here's the new pump. We have the cable which goes into the control and then it goes back to the motor. On the old pump the fuse was located here, if I'm not, yeah. On the instructions, however, the fuse should go before reaching the whole pump, which sort of makes a bit more sense, because if you have a high amperage you don't want it to reach the controller of the pump or whatever that is and break it, because I think once the controller is broken you probably throw it out. Just gonna chop this here. Ka-ching. Then I guess we need to uninsulate this a little bit so it can have a little contact. I should have the right tool for that, but I don't. But that'll do. Slide it in here. Talking of boring content. We're sorry. And then all we need to do is sort of secure it. I've never done that, but hopefully it will work. Since it's separated by plastic, I think I can insulate the entire tip of the cable. Feed it in here and nicely secure it. Both ends. And then we will have a free fuse. I don't think one is meant to reuse those fuses here. Maybe that's a bad idea. So that... Oh. Hey. Shit. That did not work at all. Ha! Maybe that's the easier way. No, it's not the easier way. Jesus Christ. that worked really well now. Bit of pressure. Go to the next one. Normally a little bit of violence will either break it entirely or solve your problem. 10 electricians currently unsubscribed from a green heading. I think that worked beautifully. Oh, we inserted the cable again. Oh, you can see. Oh, no, don't zoom in my face. Anyway, so now we can close this. Secure it. Check. Press until you hear the click. And now the pump is fused and secured. I mean, obviously the fuse looks a bit corroded already, but it still worked, so we have some spares. And now just need to connect everything again with the help of the picture on the phone. Plug in the hoses and we're good to go. See which ones we're gonna use. So there's some with the screw on connection and some for hose and clamps. I think we're gonna stick to the hose and clamps. We might actually, no, I think, oh yeah, we would be able actually to just plug in the old connector, so we wouldn't even need to disconnect necessarily the hoses and the clamps. We could, I think they kept it standardized, so we could just click in the old. I'm in doubt, because if some of these rubber seals are not great, that won't be great, but getting the hose off and on is also not great. But I will do it. I will change it and then we can plug those in and we're ready to go. Back in here. Oh, bloody hell. Ah! Of course the pipes are now like old, the hoses, so it won't come up. It's like taking the form of the bloody fitting. Sometimes you need to cut them. I don't want to do that because the hose is probably too short and then I'm screwed. So I have to use violence here. Oh. Heat would also help, like a heat gun, but we don't have that. Maybe I use the lighter. It's always good in the engine room. Pernilla, stand by with the fire extinguisher.
Should Kai and I go for a walk while you do this?
No, it's all safe. It's all
again, famous last words.
very safe. Woof! Heat up a little bit the hose. And that did the trick. Hopefully we haven't burned a hole in there. Yeah, I think we could have made our life easier by just using the same fitting. It's exactly the same. But no, I'm gonna go the extra step. Stupid. The other side actually has a screw fitting, so that might fit, so we might leave that because that doesn't affect anything. These also seem to be the same, so I'm gonna take one new of these and screw it on, and then we just, oh god, and then we just need to connect the, oh boy do I look tough, yeah, and then we just need to connect the pump. I mean, I doubt anyone will find that video useful, so I'm sorry, because it's pretty easy. But anyway, I take a look at the picture to make sure, because I already forgot. It was red on white. You can already see that some of the connection wasn't too great, so there's a little bit of, you can see the corrosion or that is caused when the connection is not great. So now that it's cleaned a bit, should be much better. unfortunately, at one stage in the beginning when we had the boat, our saltwater siphon had broken, and that's mounted sort of on the wall here, and I was spraying salt water in the engine room. And even though I rinsed it very quickly afterwards, and luckily I saw it early, it still managed to go in some parts of the electricity and some exposed surface on the engine. So after that, the engine and the engine room never looked quite as nice as before. So yeah, if it ever happens to you, take really good care. Like use rust spray, wash it very well, dry it very well. So because salt water is just a pain with everything. But it happens. Now quickly need to double check which is water in, what water out, otherwise that won't work really well. Okay, we have a little problem, the cables are too short. We move the box, the axis a bit, and then it should be okay. So now I've actually mounted it, not mounted it, connected it all. And I don't know if you can see it at all, it's very hard to film anything in here. But there it is. So I need to screw it down. There it is. And I need to screw down the cable access. And what's not great in this, it wasn't before either, is the pipe. So the hose here sort of leans onto the exhaust. I mean, it doesn't get really hot because it's water cooled. But here where is the tape, it was starting to chafe on things. So you need to make sure that your hoses are not chafing in the engine room too much, because they will come loose and they will start leaking, and then you have water flushing around. We generally always try to turn off the water pump when we are sailing or motoring, because you won't hear it, so it will if anything like shafts here and you have a leak, the pump will start pumping all your water out and flood sort of your boat, or maybe it sprays in here, which wouldn't be great. But also you might lose all your water if you're like having a passage longer. So then it's probably best not to use it at all, or just to use your foot pump, and only you switch on the pump, you get your water and then you switch it off. That's our way of doing it. So be quite careful, because everything shafts in here from the vibration. Be mindful of that. So should we try it? I'm just gonna flip the fuse and see what the hell is gonna happen. If there's smoke, can hear it. Works. And water is coming. So they suggest you should run it with the tap on so the air can escape. I think it has done it. I would say it's really quiet. So that was a success. So now we just need to mount it down properly, secure the hoses, and call it a day. So another thing you need to consider, which I nearly didn't, is these screws are obviously way longer from the old pump because it had proper feet. But if I would use those on this pump, I might actually would have nearly drilled into the hull. So if I just had gone blindly now and just squished them in, might have been coming out the other side on the sea side, which then would have turned this 5-minute job into a real good nightmare. So I mean, there is a plywood and on, so probably would be fine, but it is sort of on the hull, so you don't have endless thickness to go with. Yeah, a lot can go wrong when you do things on a boat. So the installation is done, it works, so we finally get to use the pump we spent money on and still have the old one as a spare. It's a probably very boring video unless you're planning to change a water pump, but even then I guess it won't be the same as here. But it's a reminder that nothing is really hard to do yourself with a little bit of care, because you can potentially turn it into a bigger project if you don't take all too much care. But other than that, most boat works are fairly simple. If you have questions, we are available. Next week we will be hopefully on an adventure. Kai is so bored. We'll finish every video on Kai.
Yeah.
Bye!
But then like my shoulder. Bye!
Bye bye! See you! Thanks for watching, thanks for not unsubscribing.